Right, on your collage, you have a couple of different things you can do to create your layering. You can, for instance, just lay your found images directly on top of the background, or you could make a slice. If you haven't glued it to the background, if you haven't glued it to your sketchbook yet, you can do what I did here, which is I thought it would be interesting to see what it looked like to have the flamingo behind the pillar. And I had a couple of options. If you have an X-Acto knife, you could make a little slice on each side of the pillar and then slip your flamingo in. The other option is, if all you have are scissors, is to find a line and make like a trail that goes up to the space. So I cut along. So I cut along this line here because since it's on the outside edge, and then I cut across and then up, and then I actually cut through this line right here, which allowed me to get to the other side. But this is only if you have not glued it to your sketchbook yet. And if you did already glue it to your sketchbook and all you used was a stick glue, you can probably very easily lift it off, because stick glue doesn't stick as well as like the Elmer's glue, like the white glue, the liquid. So anyway, so what I would do is what I want to do with this is put it inside. I want the flamingo to look like he's behind the pillar. So something like that, where his tail is kind of sticking out of the other side. And he's kind of peeking out. So he's on both sides of the object. And that's how I would do that. And then whenever I go to glue this in my sketchbook, then I'm going to remember to glue these pieces separately. So I'll glue the edges, and then I will leave this open so I can put him inside where I sliced it. Okay, so that's one option. If you have already glued your book in, if you've already glued your picture in and there's no way to get it off, there's no way to make a cut, to slide something in, then the next option, this would be a little bit more difficult, but you could do it. So what I would do in this case, what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to put this beach ball behind these two pillars. And so what I did was I laid it on here where I wanted it to go. And then I drew, what I did was I kind of flipped it back and forth like this to see what needed to be, how did it need to be cut. Okay, and then checking the angle, and then drawing directly on it. So what I hoped to do was to basically create the outline of where this is going to go, and then I will be able to cut. So this little yellow piece is going to go right here. That will get glued right there. I would make that a little bit cleaner. Okay, so I'd glue that part right there so it looks like it's behind him. And then I'm going to cut out on my pencil lines where I drew my shape, and hopefully I get something that's pretty close. Okay, so this is what I want. Okay, so that's close. So what I would do here is I would look and see if I need to cut any more, so I could get it as close as possible. But you kind of see what I was going for there. So now it looks like it's sort of in between, but I would need to do a little bit better job of cutting this and fitting it inside that space a little bit better. But This would only be if you couldn't make a slice while it was glued. So you might try using the tip of your scissors. If they're sharp, you might be able to make like a little cut. Although right now all that's doing is scratching the surface. But this would be maybe you have a box cutter that you might be able to use to make a little cut and then get it to work out. And this is only if you have glued your background already. Okay, this is what you would have to do if you were wanting to layer it like this. Okay, otherwise use something sharp to cut an outline to get to the space like I showed you in this one. This is going to be the better option. Okay, so it might be interesting if you had at least maybe one place that you were able to make a little slice. But of course that's not required, but just something, just another way to make your collage a little more interesting.